Alright. Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So this video right here is meant to cover the topic of shared reading and writing, which is supposed to be chapter 5. Unfortunately, classes on Tuesdays are always public holiday, so I've decided that it's best to have a video recording of this because we don't really have enough time to cover everything. So it's best to just have a video. Make sure that you guys watch this video fully and try and understand it. If let's say you're not sure about anything, please let me know in the WhatsApp group or in the classroom. Okay, so shared reading and writing here, we are talking about activities that we can do with children. Okay, activity yang reading and writing yang kita boleh buat dengan kanak-kanak in order to teach them language. Alright, so these activities that is in chapter 5, they are very simple activities. They are very simple activities, however, they are very useful. They are very meaningful to children. You have to remember that for children, their level is still their language level is still very low. Okay, so because their language level is still very low, you cannot really expect them to be able to read on their own and write on their own. Okay, macam dia tulis dekat sini, children they have better listening, right? Dia lebih mahir mendengar daripada dia mahir membaca. They develop their listening ability better first before their reading. Okay. So kemahiran mendengar tu datang dulu berbanding dengan kemahiran membaca. So, and a very simple activity that you can do with your student, which is reading aloud. So, reading aloud ni maksud dia baca kuat-kuat je lah. So, when we have to use a text, of course, tak kisahlah buku apa pun kan, nanti kita bincang. When we read aloud to students, we engage them in text that they may not be able to read. So, what this means is that because children, of course, they still have very poor language, very low proficiency. So, bila kita baca dekat kanak-kanak tu, dia boleh berinteraksi dengan teks yang selalunya dia tak boleh interaksi pun sebab dia tak boleh membaca lagi, kan? So if you read aloud to student, kita boleh baca sesuatu yang baru untuk kanak-kanak tu, ya, benda yang dia tak tahu lagi. So in the process, bila kita membaca kepada kanak-kanak tu, we expand their imagination, we give them new knowledge, we support their language acquisition, build vocabulary and promote reading. Okay. So all students, right? All students can benefit from being read to. Even if you still remember when you were younger, even darjah 1, darjah 2 pun, some of your teachers, dia baca dekat kamu kan. Even when you are in secondary school pun, sometimes teacher tu dia akan buat reading aloud. Okay? Bila cikgu tu baca kuat-kuat, yang lain akan membaca sendiri tau. Right? So that is reading aloud. So the benefits of reading aloud here, you can see it is the foundation for literacy development. So kemahiran literasi itu dia bermula dengan membaca, and then listening to others read, develop key understanding and skill. Okay, and then reading aloud demonstrate relationship between the word and meaning. So masa you membaca dan masa you baca kuat-kuat dan kanak-kanak tu baca buku tu, they can form the relationship tau. Bila dia nampak huruf tu, dia tahu okay, huruf ni baca ni macam ni sebab dia dengar daripada kamu cakap tau. Okay, and then like I mentioned, children can listen on a higher level, and it also exposes children to vocabulary and language pattern when you read to them. So how do you choose a good book? When I ask most of your classmates mention, you need to choose books that have a lot of pictures. Itu betul lah tu sebenarnya. But make sure that it's not just pictures lah sebab kita nak dia membaca. Make sure ada ayat sikit ke, ada vocab sikit ke, and also what's important is you look at the children themselves. Yeah? If the children, let's say they have very poor proficiency, what you can do is maybe you can start with the chart. Yeah? Tak perlu terus baca buku, you boleh ajar dia pasal guna chart, macam contoh chart macam ni kan, A, B, C sampai Z. Right? Something simple, flashcard or something. Kan? And then after that, you can try and move to using books. Buku cerita ke, buku informasi ke, anything that you think the children will find interesting. Yeah, you need to find something that the children will find interesting. Now that is reading to children. Another thing that you can do, another activity yang mudah tapi bermakna untuk kanak-kanak is shared reading. So for shared reading is when the student, they join and share the reading of a book together, and it is guided by the teacher. So in this case, the teacher shows the student how to read with good proficiency. If you look at the pictures here, cikgu tu dia tunjuk buku tu dekat kanak-kanak ni, lepas tu dia membaca. And then bila dia baca, kanak-kanak ni kena follow. Right? It is as simple as that. Okay. So because you want the children to follow you, kita nak check kanak-kanak to follow kita punya bacaan, we have to use books that they can see. So usually kita guna big books, big books and poems with large text. Sebab kita nak dia follow sekali kan. Right. So this is the perfect strategy for developing a love of reading as well as knowledge of prints, phonics and phonemic awareness. Okay, so some of the benefits of shared reading is that it provides struggling readers with necessary support, and then it gives them some kind of motivation tau. Sebab sebelum ni dia tak boleh baca seorang-seorang, so bila you baca together with them, they will feel more motivated untuk membaca sendiri. Okay, and then shared reading of predictable text can build sight word knowledge and reading fluency. So sight word ni, like I have mentioned many times, bila dia nampak je perkataan tu, dia tahu perkataan tu maksud dia apa. Dia tahu perkataan tu perkataan apa. So that is sight word. Like for us, when we see a word, let's say we see the word here, macam contoh B for ball ni, nampak dekat chat ni. Kita tengok ball ni, kita tahu ball tu refer kepada ball lah. Tapi untuk kanak-kanak, because they still have low proficiency of the language, mungkin dia akan ambil masa sikit untuk interpret benda tu. Okay? But if you do shared reading, dia boleh improve dia punya sight word, kemahiran dia ni, dan dia akan mampu untuk tengok perkataan tu, dia tahu maksud perkataan tu. Dia tahu perkataan apa. And now we allow students to enjoy material that they may not be able to read on their own, saya dah cakap tadi, and ensures that all students feel successful. Right? When they feel successful, they will be interested. They will be more motivated to join in on discussion. Now, steps in shared reading. So what do you do when you do shared reading is that you introduce the story first. Okay, you can ask the student question first. What do you think the story is about? And after that, you baca story tu aloud. You baca story tu kuat-kuat. Okay, using appropriate intonation. And then you continue to ask them to follow. And if you don't want them to follow, you ask them to make predictions, teka apa yang akan berlaku, and then you conclude the reading by giving some time for them to react, ask them how they feel about the story, and then you reread the story if they want, and then you can do follow-up activities. So follow-up activities ni, katalah you dah buat aktiviti membaca ni, you tak perlu terus buat aktiviti membaca lagi satu. You just do maybe, katalah you baca buku pasal kura-kura dengan arenab. So maybe after that, you buat follow-up activities, you minta dia lukis arnab ke, warnakan arnab ke. It doesn't have to always be language. Okay, and then this is also another activity that is very simple but very meaningful to children, which is guided reading. So guided reading ni is when the teacher, they work with small group of students who have similar reading behaviors. They need to have similar reading behaviors and on the same level, sebab kita nak dia membaca sendiri. So that is guided reading. Okay, so guided reading is when the student, macam tadi cikgu yang baca, kanak-kanak follow kan. Yang guided reading is where kanak-kanak tu sendiri yang membaca. Okay, so in this case, it gives them some kind of challenge and it gives them opportunities for problem solving. It should be easy enough. Bila you pilih teks untuk kanak-kanak tu baca sendiri, make sure that the text is easy enough for students to read with your support. Okay, so the purpose of guided reading is that we support reader in expanding their cognitive ability. We provide context for responsive teaching. So in this case, what it means is that kanak-kanak tu membaca, tapi they still depend on you. Okay, they still have to depend on you untuk tolong dia. Okay, so you have to support the reader. However, you also need to show respect to the student. If let's say dia baca salah, don't just simply dismiss them. Don't say, oh salah ni, apa tak kerti baca. You cannot do that with your kanak-kanak. Nanti dia demotivated. Bila dia demotivated, they will not want to read anymore. Okay, when you do guided reading, you can also give them variety of text, rich variety of text. Macam sebelum ni mungkin dia baca cerita pasal princess kan. So maybe you tukar sikit tajuk cerita dia. Cerita maybe pasal sastra Melayu pula ke, cerita-cerita klasik Melayu ke, cerita dongeng Melayu. It gives them the opportunity untuk interact dengan benda yang dia tak pernah interact sebelum ni. Okay. It helps students to learn to think like proficient readers, and it enables students to read more challenging texts with support. So here the keyword here is support. The teacher must be there to support. Okay, and then the steps in guided reading, you gather information about the readers to identify possible text. So you identify the possible text first. You analyze the text. You can make changes to the text. Katalah you nak guna satu buku ni, tapi buku tu sampai 20 muka surat, panjang sangat. So you adjust lah. Maybe you guna 5 muka surat je ke, 10 muka surat je ke. You don't have to use all. You observe children as they read the text individually. You check for understanding if you think it is suitable. You can invite children to discuss the text after reading and then make 1 or 2 teaching points. Engage children in letter, word and work activity. So in this case, sebab kanak-kanak ni dia punya level dia dah tinggi sikit kan, you can do your second task dengan kanak-kanak tu lepas dia habis membaca, it can be about letter and word activity. Macam contoh, macam yang sebelum ni punya aktiviti saya kata tadi, boleh minta dia warnakan arnab ke apa kan. Tu sebab dia punya kanak-kanak tu reading level dia rendah lagi. So in this case, reading level dia dah tinggi. You boleh buat kemahiran untuk aktiviti membaca dengan aktiviti menulis pula. Kita minta dia tulis pula kan. Tulis. The letter rabbit. Okay, so extend your understanding through writing and reflect on the lesson and plan the following lesson. Now, writing with children, okay, these are all reading activities. This one right here is about writing activities. So if you still remember about the language experience approach, we have writing with children here. So this is also another simple activity, a writing activity that you can do with your students. So in this case, kita menggunakan experience kanak-kanak tu untuk ajar dia menulis. So the first step that you need to have is you need to make sure all of the students dia ada pengalaman yang dikongsi bersama-sama. Macam contoh, they went on a field trip together, they go and visit a zoo together. They went and visit a zoo together. So from there, you sebagai cikgu, you tanya dia. You create the text, you tanya dia, oh, what did you see at the zoo? Did you go to the zoo yesterday? Lepas tu dia kata, yes teacher, we went to the zoo. So when they respond, you tulislah dekat textbook. Dekat sini kita ajar dia menulis. You tulis dekat whiteboard tu. The class went to the zoo. And then you tanya seorang-seorang, Alia, do you like going to the zoo? Yes, I like. What did you see at the zoo? And then Alia said, I saw a tiger, teacher. Saya nampak rimau. So bila dia respond tu, you tulis. Right? It's very simple. Alia saw a tiger. And then you continue asking question. What color was the tiger? Oh, dia belang-belang, cikgu. So you tulis. Okay? The tiger was black and white. Alright. And from there, you tanya. Student respond. You tulis. And then you read and revise the story. And then you baca bersama dengan kanak-kanak tu. Senang je kan? And then the next one is writing by children. So in this case, also another writing activity. But it's also very simple. It's independent writing. So in this case, what the student has to do is that we want them to write on their own. So kita bagi dia pen and paper. However, you need to provide them with enough space, material and writing stimuli or topic. So in this case, you need to give them something to start with lah. You cannot just bagi pen dengan paper, you expect them to do something. Tak boleh ya. You kena bagi dia satu topik atau stimulus. Macam contoh, it can be as simple as ayah saya, my father. So from there, you also have to give them vocabs or phrases untuk bantu dia menulis. Alright? Walaupun nama dia dekat sini independent writing, you still need to give them some form of support. Yeah? So you have to give them, for example, macam saya kata tadi, my father. So my father tu you bagilah vocab berkaitan dengan father tu kan. Macam contoh, name, my father's name is, lepas tu ada macam kosong kan. Ada empty space, blank space. He work as, lepas tu kosong kan. And then, lepas tu maybe you want to describe the father kan. He is very Lepas tu kosong. Lepas tu you bagilah vocab kat dia, handsome ke, tall ke, fat ke, uh, good looking ke, bagi je vocab kat dia. Lepas tu dia campur, sambung. So this is independent writing. When we ask them to create their own text, we let them gain their own knowledge, and then sometimes maybe they like to draw kan. When they draw, you ask them to add some kind of description. Kenapa dia lukis macam ni? Mungkin kita minta dia cerita pasal ayah dia lukis gambar ayah dia kan. So bila dia lukis gambar ayah dia, you tengok lah, oh, your father has a nice smile. So bila you tulis lah dekat dia punya whiteboard tu kan, minta dia tambah annotation ni. Alright. And then the teacher is there to provide support or scaffolding. You have to support them in independent writing. Okay, next is providing materials for independent writing. So in this case, we have a lot of materials that you can use. I like to mention here, please do not give your 3 and 4 years old scissors. Jangan bagi kanak-kanak kecil-kecil ni pegang gunting. Yeah, I have seen too many of you, your seniors did this. It's not a good idea. They cannot even hold the pencil and write kan. Betul-betul pun payah kan, tapi you nak bagi dia gunting, it's not a good idea, yeah. Alright, so here are some literacy strategies. Bila you membaca dekat kanak-kanak tu, make sure you run your finger under each word, right? Macam contoh, cat, ball, beach, train, right? And then you focus on vocabulary, you give them a lot of vocab for them to remember and for them to develop. Point out the punctuation. If let's say you are telling them a story and then dalam story tu ada nokta, you berhenti lah. Kalau ada tanda seru, you change the intonation, make it sound like it is a question. You can tell the difference, right? For example, this is coffee, itu statement, dengan this is coffee, itu soalan. Right? So point out the punctuation. You have to read with different intonation. You have to hunt for letters. Intonation ni, like I mentioned here, like I mentioned many times, if let's say you have many characters dalam satu cerita tu, you use different intonation untuk orang seorang ni. Katalah seorang tu giant, so you make your voice sounds big, your voice sound big. Right? Then you hunt for letters. You dah baca dia satu page tu, you minta dia cari. Okay, cari dalam page ni huruf perkataan duck. Lepas tu dia tunjuk. Cari dalam page ni perkataan dog. Dia tunjuk. So that's how you do it. And then search for sight word. Sight word ni saya dah cakap tadi. So ask your child to make prediction. Okay. Check for comprehension, and then you can read it again and again. That is one of the main benefits of teaching children, is that you can read the same thing to them over and over again. Ya, macam anak saya lah, dia tengok benda yang sama je over and over. Kita luka. Alright, so that is all for chapter 5. If you have any question, again, make sure to ask in the WhatsApp group or in the Google Classroom. Right, that is all. Bye-bye.